Yo, 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 what's up, guys? It's Evan Trades again. In today's video, I'm just going to be going over inversion fair value gaps. And this again is for the beginner ICT students who are struggling understanding exactly these PD arrays and who just need it simplified or maybe just explained a different way, because I love ICT and all, but sometimes he just doesn't. Sometimes there's better ways to put it, but I'm not going down on him. I'm not. But maybe someone else just needs a better explanation. So that's why I'm here to try my best to explain it for you guys. So so an inversion fair value gap, just to get straight to the point. What is a inversion fair value gap, or a inverse? So a inverse fair value gap is basically, it's just like a regular fair value gap like we learned in the previous video. I believe it was my second video that I uploaded. If you want to go check that out, if you aren't familiar with what even a regular fair value gap is, go check that out before you finish this video. But so this is a regular fair value gap when there's it's a 3-candle pattern, and when there's an imbalance or a displacement between this right here and this wick right here, and that is the imbalance right there. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of that. That is the imbalance. Okay, now an inverse fair value gap is a fair value gap right here that gets disrespected. And what do I mean by that? So the fair value gap forms right here. Turn this off, actually. I always have to do this, but it just looks cleaner. So price forms a fair value gap right here. Price drops back into it and disrespects it and trades right through it and closes right below it. Just runs through it immediately. And so that's what I mean by disrespecting. So a fair value gap forms and price just absolutely runs through it and it closes. And the thing with inverse fair value gaps is, even some ICT traders that have been trading for a bit longer, they still don't know the fact that for it to be inverse, it has to be closed below or above. It has to be closed. So what do I mean by it has to be closed below or above? What I mean is, so let's see. Where's the drawing tool? Be better. Actually, you know what? Never mind. I don't need it. What do I mean by that? So a candle price can just come down, right? It can drop down here, and then it can reject higher and leave a big old wick, and it would still not be an inverse because it didn't close below. So let's look right here. Let's look in this candle. And at the top left right here, it's going to show us all the candle values. So this candle right here, as you can see on the top left, the candle close was 18,005.25. And the candle close right here, you can see on the right hand side next to the price is 18,005.25. So for bearish candles, the close of the candle is always going to be over here at the bottom, while the close for bullish candles are always going to be the top. So just keep that in mind if you didn't know that. If you did, I apologize, but if someone didn't know that, then I hope you found that useful. But so that is the close of the candle. So it has this close, it has to be below, it has to close below the fair value gap. It has to be ran through it completely and closed, and yeah. So this is a prime example of an inverse fair value gap right here. This right here is an example of a inverse right here. This tiny fair value gap gets totally ran through, disrespected, and it closes above it. It closes completely above it right here. All right. Now let's look at another example right here. Here's another example right here. And this is just on the 15-minute chart. You can find plenty of examples on any time frame right here. Creates fair value gap, displaces, price absolutely runs through it and closes above it. So that creates it as an inverse fair value gap. Now let me try to find a, I don't know if I'll be able to find one. Let's see. Let's see. I don't know if I'll be able to find one right now. Okay. So here's an example of not 100% of the time when it closes above and creates as an inverse. 100% of the time, it's not always going to be like, it's not always going to just rush through and proceed to the next high. And this is a good example right here. So if you're a good inverse trader, or if that's one of your models, so here's the imbalance right here. Price displaces, creates the little tiny fair value gap, runs through it, closes above, and some people might see that and be like, oh, okay, I need to change my bias to bullish after seeing all of this bearish movement. They see this and they're like, oh, okay, I need to long. No, not every time there's an inverse. Not every single time there's an inverse, the bias isn't gonna change. So you got to be careful on that, because as you can see, it comes right here and then it goes up here and then it instantly rejects down to take out, this liquidity and this internal liquidity right here. And so, and even right here too, here's another example. Just caught my eye. Price displaces, creates a fair value gap, price comes back down, closes below. Some people might be like, oh, okay, I need to go short. They go short, they get instantly stopped, and it comes back up and it goes back up to target this high right here. So yeah, there's definitely rules to an inverse fair value gap. There's definitely rules. There's a lot more to it. And if you guys have not heard of Dodgy's DD, I'll put his name up on the screen of the name of his YouTube. His whole model, his whole framework is all around inverse fair value gaps. He makes great videos on it. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I apologize. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. Or I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Uh, yeah, be sure to check him out. His whole framework is around inverse fair value gaps, how to trade them, the rules behind them, and his model with this high strike rate. Because the model that he uses is a very high strike rate, and it's a very, very good model. I recommend you guys going to watch it if you guys are interested in inverse fair value gaps, if you find it neat, and if you want a high strike rate model. So yeah, that is a inverse fair value gap. So you can see right here. Here's another example. Price displaces up, price comes down, and then absolutely runs through it right here. And then price comes back up, taps it, and then proceeds down to take out these levels of liquidity right here. And sometimes, not every time, but sometimes, oh my god, this thing's annoying. Sometimes when price creates an inverse fair value gap, there is times where it will close below it, like it does right here. And most people know the inverse fair value gap as, it running through it, closing below it, and then retracing back up to hit the fair value gap, and then proceeding down like it does here. But not every time it's going to do that. Not every time. Not every time it's going to do that. So let's find where we were at. Okay. So what do I mean by that? So there's going to be times where it's like this, where let's go on replay, where if we're looking at price like this, oh, okay, price is rallying up, it's going after this high. That's what someone might think, right? They're bullish. Okay. Now, if they see, once they see this fair value gap get disrespected, then their heart starts beating a little bit. And I guess you could somewhat change your bias at this point, at least for targeting these internal liquidity, sell side liquidity. But yes, so most people see inverse fair value gaps as price for coming down and then waiting for a rejection back up. But in this case, it does. It does hit it and then reject back down to take out this sell side right here, but not in every case. And so this is your classic A plus setup, textbook, whatever you want to call it, your classic A plus textbook setup right here for an inverse fair value gap. Now for a, let's just look for one that I can show you guys. See. So here's a pretty obvious one. So right here, right at the New York AM session open. So right at 9:30, price displaces down, creates displacement. Price comes back up, seems to respect a little bit, comes back down, and then as soon as news comes out right at 10, I mean you shouldn't be trading around before news, but if you were, it's just an example. So price absolutely runs through this fair value gap, creating as an inverse, closing above it. And this is what I mean. Price, it just does not come back down at all throughout the whole rest of the trading day. Does not come back down at all to retrace back into it. The closest it got was right here. So not every time it's gonna retrace back down. So if you want more setups, if you're looking for more setups and you want to take multiple trades with inverse fair value gaps like Dodgy does teach, then I'll give you a quick snippet of what he teaches. So instead of waiting for your classic inverse setup for price to displace through or close above and then come down for the tap, what Dodgy basically does, without going into too much detail, is, let's see if I can find a good example. Okay. Let's see. So you want to find your bias. That's the first step. You want to find your bias, and then you want to, I will go to the 1 minute because there's a lot more opportunities on the 1 minute. You want to find your bias. So let's just say for, let's just say, man, I cannot find a fair value gap to really use this. Okay, let's just say for right here, because it's the one that really caught my eye. So let's say you're bearish on the day. You see price come down here. Okay, you see it come inverse this 5 minute, like we said, comes back up, taps it down, drop down to the 1 minute. Okay, you have a bearish bias. So for this setup, you're gonna look for a bullish fair value gap to get disrespected and turned inverse. So you see this 1 minute fair value gap is disrespected after respecting this displacement in this 5 hour inverse. You see it close below, and as soon as the candle closes below or above, depending on your the fair value gap. Waiting for it to close below the fair value gap, that's when you enter and you target internal lows. This wouldn't be a good risk reward. You can target internal lows, and in this case you would want to target this low because it's a better RR. And essentially you put your stop just right above a candle close above the fair value gap, or the inverse. So this is basically what the model would be. And just to put it in replay, in case you like to see it with your own eyes, let me see. Okay, get rid of this. Okay, the 1 minute fair value gap gets disrespected. Okay, you sell. As soon as the candle closes, you're targeting these levels of sell side right here. Okay, and you're just gonna put your take profit down there, and your stop loss just about a candle close above that inverse fair value gap. And so it should be, depending on what liquidity you're targeting, it should be a good RR. But then not every time you're gonna get a good setup like this, but most of the time it is pretty good. And so it does, take that out obviously. And you can take partials. If you're gonna take partials, Dodgy does recommend that you wait till internal sell side is taken out. So as soon as internal sell side is taken out, like it does right here, let's write it out, internal sell side. As soon as that happens, you put your stop loss to break even. So it's an automatic dub after that, no matter what. And then, see right there, you would have got stopped out at break even, which is fine. It's still a W. Or depending, it's totally up to you guys. If you even want to wait for these higher time frame liquidity levels, if you want to wait and if you want to drag it down here, it's completely up to you guys. But starting out, I do recommend starting to go for internal and little kind of small RR, just to kind of gain experience with the model and get screen time with it and really get a feel for it. And so that's the model that he basically teaches. There's way more to it though. I recommend you guys go watching him though. Seems like a really cool guy. And yeah, please go check him out. So yeah, that is what a inverse fair value gap is, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope I explained it well. I tried my best, honestly. Please let me know if there's anything I need to work on in explaining or anything to help you guys out. For anyone who's new to ICT, like I said, I hope I explained it good to you guys, and I hope someone found this helpful. But yes, you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.